Ready? Here I go again. Hi, I'm Ira Block, National Geographic photographer and Sony Artisan. I'm here in Havana, Cuba, and we are looking at the final episode of the series today for B&H Photo. It's been an incredible time here in Cuba. We've been here in Havana, we've been to Viñales. I've met a lot of people, new people, old friends. We've taken a lot of photos. It's just been one great ride. And today, I'm going to show you how we put together a little photo story using the photos that we've been working on here the last few days. All right, so those of you who have not seen the previous episodes and are just watching this, get back. Go and watch the other episodes. You'll enjoy it. So right now, I'm looking at some of the photos and I'm going to start selecting what I like. There are three things that make a great picture: your composition, your moment, and your lighting. So if you have all three, your picture's going to look really nice. I put a selection of my photos into Photo Mechanic, which is a terrific software for looking at your photos really quick, really fast. So the images we're looking at now have not been processed out. These are basically raw files, and when I make the final selection, we'll start processing them. This series is about environmental portraits and storytelling, which includes landscapes and other details. Well, I went to a great fishing village, Cojimar, just outside of Havana, and Cojimar is the fishing village that Ernest Hemingway based his book, The Old Man and the Sea, on. I went to this village and I found one of the fishermen that has a great face. He's a great character. His name is Chi-Chi. I started with a 24, but I couldn't back up enough because there was some sun behind me which would have flared in the lens. So I switched to a 12 to 24. So here he is, he's holding the net. He looks pretty good. Nice smile, great colors in the background. This is a little wider. This is with the 12 to 24 at 18 millimeters. He looks good there. We put up another net, little closer shot. And then I started shooting without him holding the net. And there's a net hanging behind him, which I sort of like better. And this is the one I'm leaning towards. Let me just see what else we have. That's nice with him looking up and his hands on. You can see both hands in this shot. Oh boy, now it's getting tough. It's between this one and these, and looking away from the camera, looking at the camera. You know, I'm going to choose both of them and then decide later on how the story's going and decide if I need them looking at the camera or not. So, of course, walking through the streets of Cuba, you see a lot of great stuff. I found some musicians playing on the street, a bunch of older gentlemen. They were having a lot of fun, so let's look and see. Here are the guys playing. I used a wide lens. I kept the guy on the conga drums in the foreground. You can see that. The second guy is pretty active there. The guy playing in the foreground has a good look on his face, and that's a close-up of one of the players. I like this one the best, and I may keep a detail just like that. So Cuba's capital is also a well-known monument or edifice here, and it looks just like the U.S. Capitol. Surprise, surprise. And I did a nice night shot of it. Not night, but that hour where the sky is getting blue and looks like night. Otherwise, when you do a real night shot, the sky is pitch black. There's no drama. So this is a nice shot. I'm going to choose that one. Well, walking around the streets of Havana is always a fun thing to do, and you get some nice pictures. So let's see what we've got. We saw this nice lady in her hair curlers, hair rollers, up in the balcony, and I decided to do a picture of her. And not only did I do a picture of her, but we started conversing, and she actually came downstairs to say hi. So, but I am going to pick this one right now. I have a nice old car in the background, which is great. I've got the end of the street is a house, so it sort of closes out the street. The street looks good, she looks good. And in this one, I used the aperture f4. I didn't want the car in the background to go totally in focus because I wanted the emphasis on her. So behind her, it starts getting a little soft, but I think that works well for this picture, so I'm going to choose her there. Oh, and then she was talking to a friend. Wow, this has a lot of emotion. I don't know. I'm going to choose this one, then I'll decide later what will work, but I sort of like the emotion in this image. And she was talking to the lady upstairs on the balcony in the hair rollers, so I tried to get a picture of them together. There she is, and there's the lady that we met on the blue balcony. This one may be a little better because she's facing me and you see both their faces, so that's getting chosen. Also, while walking along the street, we saw this nice little courtyard that had a lot of apartments in it, and people there were really friendly, so they said, come on in to do some pictures. And then we met Barbara. What a great woman she was. She's the president of the group that lives there. It's some kind of commune. And she was friendly, so I had to do some portraits, and I liked the colors and I liked the light. I think I like this portrait the best. But then she invited us in, and I did another picture inside the house, and I think this is lovely. And here again, I like the fact the door was open on the left side. It does show some depth to the image.
Oh yeah, here you come. Come on.
Well, we finished our little stay in Havana, and we moved on to Viñales, Cuba, which is the tobacco center of Cuba, and got some interesting moments there and different things. This is happening as the sun's coming up in the background, so let's go through all these quickly. I like that. The cigar and the hat make for a great silhouette. So now it's just a matter of how the horse looks. You want both ears showing. It always makes the horse look better. Cigar's out of the mouth. This one we got some smoke. I could see a little smoke from the cigar. So I'm going to choose that one. And the horse looks good. And then I did some close-ups. Looks pretty good. Oh, that looks good with the smoke. That gets chosen. And then he did a little washing with the horse, and I put the shutter speed up pretty high at 2,000th of a second and used the high-speed frame rate so I could catch the water being thrown on the horse. That looks pretty good. I wasn't getting in the water. So instead of moving, I put the 50mm 1.4, which is a new lens for me, and it's a great lens, and you can see how well the water's frozen and how sharp the image is. I lifted the camera higher on the second shot. In this shot, his head and hat are in the mountain ranges, so he's got a dark hat against dark mountains. By lifting the camera, his head and hat are outlined by the water, so his head stands out much better. You do see the cigar, and the water looks really good going on the horse, so I think I'm going to choose that, and right now I'll just unchoose this one. Then I decided to do some portraits of him alone, and for this I used the 135 1.8 at f2.5, 2.8 to really knock the background out. So I like the look of somebody in sunlight with the out-of-focus background. Then we got to my buddy Benito, who is always a character and always great at lighting up his cigars that he's hand-rolled. When the flame of the lighter gets going, you could see on his face the orange glow from the flame. And that's what I'm looking for. A little smoke in that orange glow. That's pretty good. And that one, his face is really lit up by the flame. And the cigar looks good. There's some smoke. We're getting that. And notice in the background, those are holes in the barn where they're drying tobacco. And I'm using those holes and the light coming through as part of my composition. And since it is a tobacco drying shed, I got low with the 24 and did a couple of pictures of him with the tobacco drying above him. Oh, that's good. Look at a good little tilt to the head. He looks good there. I like the other one better. I found another farmer, and I did some details of his hand. I thought, they work so hard. They're in the field. Their hands really take a beating. So I did a close-up of the hand. I think I'll pick that. It may be a good detail for the story. And while we're looking at cigars, we met a woman who makes a special homemade coffee, and she too smokes a cigar, and she works on a wood-burning stove, literally wood-burning. And that looks pretty good. We got the smoke of her cigar and the smoke and fire of her boiling the water for the coffee. I did a close-up with the 135 1.8 again. I like working with horizontal portraits. It's very cinematic looking, like you'd see in a movie. And the other thing is that when I cut a little bit of the head off, you're drawn more into the eyes. So working horizontally for me on portraits is just natural. He's turning the other way there. I think I like it this way better. I did do a couple of verticals, but I think I'm drawn more to the horizontals. Some of the piglets followed the mom, but a few of them stayed behind to munch on some vegetables in the local garden. They were very cute, and those kind of light moments while you're waiting around are a lot of fun, and it makes you understand why being a photographer is such a great occupation for me. I did a nice landscape of one of the fields there because everything's green and the earth is really red. And that red earth, I think, is why it's such a good agricultural area. I like the buildings and the structure. And then also, as you can see down in the frame here, is an oxen just sitting in a ray of sunlight. So I think this becomes a nice landscape. So that gets picked. Here's another landscape, and I like completing my stories about people with landscapes. So you could see what the environment they live in looks like, and that helps you understand why they are the kind of people they are. They're down-to-earth farmers. They work with their hands. So that's important to sort of connect the two, the people and their environment, either in an environmental portrait of sorts or a picture of them and the environment. And that's the end of going through all my photos. I've got a lot picked, and at this point, when I go home, I'll go through them again. I may narrow some down because I did pick a few too many at times. And then I'll look at it with somebody else, an editor or a designer, depending on if I'm going to do a story or a small little book or something. And we'll go through them again, narrow it down more, and then the ones we finally choose, then we'll work on them, because none of these pictures have been touched. We'll go into post-production, and we'll do some toning and just change up the pictures a little bit. And that's how, that's the process I go through, and that's how it's going to end. Hey, it was a blast. What a great time this was here in Cuba. I had so much fun, but more importantly, I think I took some really interesting photos. And I met some old friends. I made some new friends. It just didn't stop. It was just always something different, something unusual, something that I learned from. And I hope you enjoyed the last episode. where we put everything together, the whole story, how I do it, and put any comments you want down below, and I'll try to answer them. If you have questions or you want to know something, we'll try to make it work. And I hope to see you again. Who knows where? Maybe someplace different. Maybe Thailand. See you again.